let's learn about parameters. Parameters are really simple. I'm going to create an example and then explain how it works. I created a parameter called number, and I've set the argument to 1 here. Let's run the game and you'll see that the part is invisible. The part is invisible. Now let's go ahead and find out why parameters work. Right here I have a parameter called number, and in the script I can use number whenever I want. However, without me telling the script what number, it's never going to know what to set the transparency to. That's why when you call the function, you have to use an argument. And for my argument, I put 1. This means when the script runs the code, it's going to go to the function, and it's going to make number 1. So when it runs the code, it's going to see the code just like this. It's not going to see the code like we see it, it'll see it with a 1, and that's because we provided the argument as 1. We can take this one step farther and add multiple parameters. I'm going to call this parameter number 1 and this parameter number 2. I've changed the function to add numbers. We don't need this variable, so let's get rid of it. As you can see, I have number 1 and number 2, and in the function, I'm adding the numbers and printing them. If I were to run this code, it's going to print 3. Just like that, the script added 1 and 2 together and it printed 3. So if you're following along, you'll know why this works. Number 1 became 1 and number 2 became 2, and then the script added them together in the function. Remember, these can be anything, so I can make this 67 and I can make this 5, and when I run the game, it's going to add the two numbers together. Just like that, it printed 72 because the function added the numbers together. Now I'm going to show you a real example using multiple parameters. Right here, I have 2 parts created. This one is called red part and this one's called green part. Now let's say I wanted to change its transparency. For this, I would create a brand new function called change transparency, and inside the function, I would add the code. But there's an issue. I only want to use one function. However, if I want to adjust both parts, I would have to create multiple functions. To combat this problem, we can create a parameter for the part. Along with that, I created a parameter for the transparency. Now what we can do is type part.transparency equals transparency. Below this function, I'm going to call it in. Let's put the red part in first. Before that, let's create our variables. Local red part equals game.workspace.redpart. Local green part equals game.workspace.greenPart. After that, I'm going to provide the red part as an argument. If you haven't picked that up already, these are parameters, and when you provide them, they're called arguments. I called the function in, I provided part as the red part. As you can see right here, we set the variable and the transparency as 0.4. Let's run the game and you'll see the red part is now at a transparency of 0.4. It's a little hard to see with the lighting, but if we look really closely, it is transparent. And in the properties, the transparency is 0.4. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the green part. All I'm going to do is change this to green part and make this 0.9. Let's go ahead and run the game. As you can see, this part is 0.4 and this part is 0.9 transparency. This is one of the most basic ways I could explain functions and parameters, so if this is helping out so far, let me know by leaving a like. Next, let's learn another feature of functions, which is returning.